Eric Muathe at Muathe.com. One of the weirdest or the oddest observations that I've made as I continue using the RSI for entry and exit points, kind of trying to understand the sentiment that markets bring about. One of the oddest observations, and I've researched this for a while, and I know it's weird, but once you start seeing it more and more, you're going to actually start seeing that it has a lot of truth to it, is that markets sometimes like to play games. Now, you're never going to find, it's hardly ever you're ever going to observe the RSI go flat, like just go flat like that. You're never going to see that. So what it does, and it's very odd, it does something like that. Instead of being flat in that period when it should have been one way or the other, when markets decide they want to be flat over a period of time, as far as sentiment is concerned, they do this. They go up, down, and then up. And so this amount of move is equivalent to the move above. So mathematically, they cancel out. So instead of having a flat line, the markets decides what they usually do is they go up, come down, and then up again. And so you take this wave, so this wave cancels that wave, and you have what I call a wave cancellation. And this is not very important really, but there'll be times when you're trying to draw a wedge breakout like that, but there's the wedge breakout. The wedge would make sense, but there's just one peak coming out of nowhere that is getting in the way. In other words, if you draw the wedge above that top line, then there's nothing in this area to confirm that you have the right line. But what you can do is observe that maybe before this peak, what happened was the RSI did something like that. So you have let me try and see what I can explain. So maybe the RSI did something like that. You know what I mean? It's something like that, and then here, and it takes off, right? So this peak right here is obstructing this line from coming down. But what you notice is that if I had drawn this line properly, this area and this area is a wave cancellation. In other words, this action was cancelled by this one. So what the market wanted to do, in effect, it wanted to go flat over this time period. But since it usually doesn't, I haven't seen that, the RSI goes. In other words, the way I look at it is markets really, well, as I continue studying markets like to play games. This move here probably brought some people in thinking it was a breakout. It was fake, and then they really dropped it hard, got some people out again, and yet all the market was doing was being flat psychologically. So it's a game the market is playing out there, and once you start observing it, sometimes it's even funny. But it does help you know what might be going on, especially when you're using the wedge breakout. So I'll come back with another video, but be on the lookout for wave cancellation. Now, ultimately, I gotta stress this, ultimately a good breakout will even move above the tops line, that move above this line and that line. If it's a weak breakout, then it's gonna break out from your adjustment here of the wave cancellation, and then stall right there and stop right there. So that validates that the top line was what you should have used. But here's a way you can get in with a little cheating. Just know that the more your RSI line hits this highs, the more it confirms that that's where it seems the market is having problems psychologically, moving above or below. Then this is the kind of line you want to use. You want to use the one where there's confirmation that your line does make sense, such that when we get a material break, then you can know that something has changed psychologically in the instrument you are watching. Eric Muathe, Muathe.com. I'll be back with some examples.